Hello and welcome to my breakdown of the recently released San Diego Comic-Con trailer for the upcoming Star Trek Picard TV series on CBS All Access. I'm going to go ahead and break down the trailer for you guys. We'll talk about some hidden things in it, as well as some background information and some Easter eggs. Now, if you are here just to see the trailer, I highly recommend just watch the trailer itself alone. I'm going to put the link down below, and you guys can watch that, and then come back and see the breakdown and pick out some of the information that I've done. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So we open right away on the vineyard. Now, obviously, this is Chateau Picard. Now, if you remember, this is his family's vineyard in La Barre, France. Unfortunately, his family is gone. His older brother Robert and his nephew Rene tragically died in that fire during Star Trek Generations. So it is still under his name, however, and so you can see that he is back here. Now, there have been two previous times where Jean-Luc Picard has come back to recoup and sort of his rehab, I guess. And that is in the season finale of Star Trek Next Generation, All Good Things. You see an older degenerative neural disease Picard putting some ribbons on the vines as Geordi LaForge visits him. So you see that. And then again, you see also obviously him coming back after his tragic transformation into Locutus of Borg, after he's been kind of rescued from that. He goes back to the vineyard to then recuperate and, you know, kind of look at where he's gone with his career and a little bit of introspection. Brother helping out a lot, you know, in terms of reconciling who he is and what the decisions he's made throughout his career. And so you can tell that the vineyard has a lot of significance for Picard, so it makes sense that the series starts here, the trailer starts here. Keep in mind also that you can now see here the chateau.
Have you ever been a stranger to yourself?
Many, many times.
So that's interesting. The line where he's talking about, you know, have you ever, the narratives, have you asked, have you ever not felt like yourself? And of course, this is very, you know, reminiscent to several aspects of his life. You know, of course, the one of my favorite episodes, The Inner Light, where he gets hit by an alien probe energy beam, and even though it's a few minutes in the casts or the cruise sort of timeline, and he goes and then lives a 40-year life of an alien species through the alien probe. That's where one example where he's probably thinking about. Of course, his time as Locutus of Borg is another one that he looks back at. So there's been several instances. He played a smuggler as well in a few episodes. So there's been a lot of cases where I think he's felt like this. So that's interesting. Alluded to that. Here, obviously, you see the comm badge that he pulls out. This is actually the communicator design not used in the Star Trek Next Generation series, but rather the one that's used in the Next Generation movies, Generations, as well as then you see that being used in Star Trek Voyager as well. Incidentally, the uniform designs also used in Generations has also then been adapted in Voyager and DS9.
Nearly 2 decades ago, Commander Data sacrificed his...
So here you're seeing some sort of research or medical facility. Obviously, you know, B4 or Data now disassembled. He's talking about, you know, 2 decades ago, you know, 20 years ago, Commander Data sacrificed his life for me. Of course, he's referencing the conclusion of Star Trek Nemesis when Data destroyed Shinzon's Theleron weapon and himself to save the Enterprise E. So this could be the collection of his body parts now being stored. It even could be, you know, a backup clone of his B4, the android B4, or even the Data doppelganger, the Noonien Sung android, like Lore, his so-called brother. We don't know where Lore has been all this time either. So that could be him as well, but most likely it's going to be data recovered from that that incident.
Life for me. These past few years, I really tried.
Hey, he's got a dog, which makes sense. Patrick Stewart is a huge dog lover. If you follow his Twitter, he's always talking about his rescue dogs, his foster dogs that he. That's cute that that's there. It's amazing how dogs have been making it into mainstream film now. A lot, like a lot. It's also interesting that there's been a Twitter poll about what should they name the dog, and the number one most favorite name has been number one, which is funny because obviously that's a nickname for Commander Will Riker, played by Jonathan Frakes. Incidentally, Jonathan Frakes will be directing at least 2 episodes of the series, which is great. Some of my most favorite episodes of Star Trek Next Generation were directed by Jonathan Frakes, including, I think, what is probably the best, Picard era movie of them all, which was First Contact. So I'm really happy to see him do that. And he's reprising his role as Riker, along with Miranda Sirtis as his now wife, Deanna Troi. So they did end up getting married instead of her to Worf. Fine. We do know that they broke up in Nine, so prior to Deep Space Nine. So, yeah, that should be great to see that. And hopefully other casts will make a reappearance as well. I'd love to see Crusher, Geordi LaForge. I'd love to see all of them coming back. Even Will Wheaton's still around, obviously. His guest appearances in Big Bang Theory related to Star Trek has always been cool. So hopefully maybe even he makes a comeback. So it should be cool. I hope all the cast make a cameo at some point. That would be really, really cool. We know Worf is still around as well. So that's cool.
To belong here, but it never truly felt like home.
So again, you hear him say he tried to belong here at his vineyard, but it never truly felt like home. That could also be to the tragic memories of loss of his family, but I think also he's retired, obviously, at this point from Starfleet, and he's thinking back on this, and so we have to also look back at Kirk as well, played by William Shatner, and even their sort of exchanges in the film Generations, where even Kirk tells him, don't let them kick you out, put him behind you, put you behind a desk, try to stay in the cabin chair as long as possible, you'll miss it and all this stuff. So I think in some ways it's ironic how Jean-Luc Picard's life has sort of paralleled Kirk's life in some way, in the sense that he was retired, but yet yearning to get back to the stars to explore. He still felt like there's something missing in his life, and so that's what he's talking about here as he's looking up at the stars. So now we get a shot of the new character introduced here, played by Issa Briones. Very young, born in 1999. Native of London, England, best known for her film role in The Takers, playing Matt Dillon's daughter. But other than that, not a lot of film or TV credits to her name, so she's kind of making her big sort of debut here, which is great. Star Trek and Star Wars franchises have traditionally, and even Marvel have traditionally taken sort of up-and-coming or unknown actor and actresses and kind of brought them into this and iconic characters. Certainly a lot of the cast of The Next Generation were unknown to a lot of the public until the massive hit of Next Generation. So I like to see that tradition kind of carrying through, and maybe that's an influence of Patrick Stewart, or maybe the casting director there's all the plaudits for that, but I like to see that happen. And I'll go through some of the other characters too as well. But here she is right here, unveiling herself to Jean-Luc Picard.
Do you know who I am? Everything inside of me says that I'm safe with you.
So now there have been allusions to her as, who is she? Is she, a daughter of one of his love affairs? He's had a few love affairs in the past, or is she an ex-Borg? Like Hugh was. You see a scar on her head. Is that a result of an implant being removed, or is that from escaping from somewhere and being fighting. We don't really know at this point. I mean, she could be, she could be genetically modified human from the Khan sort of group of people. We know they're genetically modified, are still running around even after Khan was killed. His whole group of people still running around, exiled in the galaxy. Her, what is this connection? She knows him. It seems like he doesn't know her. It would make sense if she was like a decommissioned Borg, that she would come to him as he being Locutus of Borg. So it makes sense that she would seek him out and that she would say this, the side of me says I'm safe with you, but it could be also another connection.
I'm safe with you.
Admiral.
Here, of course, you see the iconic leaked photos of Starfleet Academy. You can see by the insignia on the banners the Starfleet Academy, also by some of the designs of the uniform. If you play Star Trek Online, you can also see that this is in the game as well. When you go to Star Trek Academy, Starfleet Academy in the game, you'll see some of this buildings as well. Incidentally, it seems that he's wearing some kind of overcoat with a similar design, not a uniform. So he's still in retirement. You can see in the background some holograms there. So it seems like they've kind of transitioned or evolved a little bit from just the flat PADD pad usage, and now they're moving into almost like handheld holographic, hologram-based technology.
I have encountered a woman.
So go back a little bit here to this shot here. It's an admiral. We don't know. I believe it's an admiral, or maybe it's just the dean of the Starfleet Academy. But historically, even the head of the Starfleet Academy has been admiral. So I'm not sure this is an admiral. Do the uniform, that type of color uniform traditionally hasn't been seen. Some of you Star Trek historians can correct me if I'm wrong, but that color is almost reminiscent of sort of the Dominion or Borg era color of battle sort of color uniform, even though I don't think they're at war here. Maybe it looks like in the background that's a schematic map of the Academy grounds, if I'm not mistaken. Also, I see some Vulcan puzzle games on the desk as well. Maybe again, Star Trek historians can point out what those are or what race they're from, but they look like a Vulcan puzzle games I've seen previous episodes of Star Trek Next Generation. So obviously he's approaching her. He must know her at some point, or they must have some connection. He's asking for her advice and for her help.
Woman, she came to me for help.
There you can see what looks to be like a Romulan disruptor pistol.
If she is who I think she is.
She seems to be fighting these guys here with these sort of motorcycle helmets, Romulan disruptor rifle on the ground. She's doing a 1v3, so she's got some crazy hand-eye coordination and some martial arts skills, which would make sense if she is either genetically altered human or she's a decommissioned former Borg. That would make sense that she would have that strength to take out those guys. Incidentally, take a look at the costume design of Christine Clark, who's the costume designer on the series. You can actually, if you remember the movie Ender's Game, she was the principal costume designer for Ender's Game. A lot of the helmet designs, some of the uniform designs here also reflect that influence of Ender's Game. You can kind of see that crossing over. She's also done some costume designs for Into the Badlands and Melissa McCartney's A Spy movie as well. So she's done a lot of these, even the Maze Runner. So she's done Tron Legacy. So I think you can see some of that influence brought in here, which is really great because I think it's really spot on. And it not only does it fit the Star Trek universe, but it fits in terms of reality. Like, it feels real. It doesn't feel fantasy. So there, it looks like she kicks the one guy off the balcony, and he is somehow teleported away. Interesting. Typically, it's hard to teleport a moving object, but I assume now probably they've fine-tuned the technology, so now they can do teleport moving objects.
She's in serious danger.
Sometimes I worry that you have forgotten who you are.
So there we go back here a little bit, and you can see they're in some sort of Borg detention area, or the Romulans are keeping, ex or deborgified prisoners of some kind, including the mystery girl. On the scaffolding, you see that this facility has gone 5,843 days without a simulation, and then subsequently next to it, the same thing I think in Borg writing. You can also notice on the joints of sort of the railings there, you can see the red Romulan, sort of Romulan Empire logo. It doesn't look like it's the split Romulan Empire, the High Shi'ar Empire. It looks like it's just the Romulus Empire logo. I can't really see it. In the back, of course, you've got the Borg recharge stations, similar to the one that you've seen in Voyager, where they converted the cargo hold of Voyager into the recharge stations for 7 of 9. But this looks like it's actually converted their cube that they're in, or in a big cargo facility, detention facility. You can see in the next shot, looks like prison uniforms of some kind. You can notice here she's wearing some sort of badge as well, and holding some kind of, I would assume it's a spiritual or religious artifact of some kind. I doubt they would let them have anything that could damage or harm or anything. So I'm assuming it's a personal artifact. Then of course you can see some of the other species out there as well, also being held. This person could be, are the ears pointed? It looks like the ears slightly pointed. Maybe a Vulcan here.
We do not.
Now you can finally see who's the narration. It's this woman, Romulan, I assume, basically giving him a pep talk, saying, "Get your butt in gear, Jean-Luc Picard. You're not done yet."
You can't do it alone. You need.
Interesting here, you see everybody just being randomly teleported out behind him, and he's got a little bit of look of consternation, wondering what that's about. Why are people just randomly getting teleported out from, again, it looks like he's on the Starfleet Academy grounds.
Help.
You see obviously two actors here. We recognize Alison Pill, Toronto, Ontario, Canada native, nominated for Tony for performance in Lieutenant of Inish Moore, but her real breakthrough role for us, or for me anyways, was obviously Scott Pilgrim vs. the World in 2010, and then again in 2012 she played the iconic character Maggie Jordan in Sorkin's TV show The Newsroom. Great show. I highly recommend you guys watch that too if you haven't. Then we also see Santiago Cabrera, I believe. Santiago Cabrera, I think that's him in the background, playing the captain of this ship, I believe it looks like. There, of course, you see him holding up his arms to Michelle Hurd, who's a New York native, an actress known for her role as a character Shepard in TV series Blind Spot, so that's cool to see her here. Obviously, she's not happy to see him. He's here probably recruiting her for the crew. Looks like she's also been stuck away, hiding or retired in the boonies as well. So yeah, she's gonna join the crew. And then you see here Narek, played by Harry Treadaway, sword-carrying Vulcan. Obviously he's spiritual. You got to have sort of the spiritual sort of swordsman, Bushido warrior style guy in the crew, of course. Looks very serious. Doing the Vulcan greeting. So again, you can see back in the ship holographic sort of displays now. Augmented reality / holographic displays now being very much common. The whole crew's now assembled. Picard's not the captain of the ship. It's this guy here, Santiago, played by Santiago Cabrera, who's actually comes from the London's prestigious Drama Center, where he studied under renowned instructors Jan Malmgren and Christopher Fetz, who incidentally also taught two really great actors that Sir Sean Connery and Sir Anthony Hopkins. So he comes from a really high level pedigree. So I'm looking forward to see him act. Obviously, she has no idea who she truly is. Again, this could be references again to her being maybe because you've seen the Romulan medical research facility as a research the Borg. So, that could be the reference. Maybe she's a new kind of, Borg, human Borg hybrid mix. Maybe the Romulans have been doing, so they've been doing research. They've taken over the Borg cube. You can see the warbirds flying around it. So they've taken over some of the Borg technology. They're doing research. Obviously, they've pulled some insights from that. Maybe she's like the he talks about being the ultimate weapon, the destroyer of all. Maybe this is like, she's it. She's like this, almost like, the Bruce Banner sort of engineered human slash Borg, mix hybrid or something. And so she's got all the benefits and all the super strength of the Borg and stuff, but she's human or something like this. Or maybe she's a part of the Khan sort of genetically engineered human. They've called those guys in the past destroyer of the galaxies, which is why it's been banned by the United Federation of Planets. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe she's like an extinction level weapon inside of her or something, some kind of ability that's going to manifest itself and put the whole galaxy at danger. Who knows? At this point, we're not giving much of a clue. She seems to be like a normal human. We haven't seen implants in her or anything like that, so we don't quite know where she comes from. But we'll find out in the series. Obviously, there are some people that know who she is, what she's capable of, and they think that she's kind of like the end-all, be-all destruction or type of thing. Boom! Bada boom! Jerry Ryan. What a surprise. Like, I mean, obviously, we don't know too much about the interaction between Jean-Luc Picard and Seven of Nine. Obviously, looks like Seven of Nine's kind of taken a break after come back from Voyager, has returned to the Alpha Quadrant. Looks like she still has her ocular implant. Maybe this is the new ocular implant. We're not sure. But she's not wearing uniform. She's in civvies, in civilian clothing. So we can seem that they've had a relationship over the years. She seems to be talking to him as an equal, not addressing him as captain or anything, or admiral or whatever his title is. So she seems very comfortable, giving him a little bit of sass. Now, I would have thought this would have been Crusher, because Crusher kind of played that role as an old-time friend in the season finale, All Good Things. When Picard comes to Crusher with this thing that I'm seeing, illusions and all this, and she's kind of humoring him, but also telling him that, giving him some real talk. I felt like that character is now being filled by Jerry Ryan instead of Beverly Crusher, which is fine. We don't know too much about their past. Hopefully we'll find out more about this, but obviously, seeing her here is awesome, and we want, and if it's the whole beginning part is revolving around the Borg and the Romulans using the Borg technology, and even this mystery woman who could be, decommissioned Borg or whatever, then it would make sense that she's here, because she would be seen as the predominant expert on everything Borg, just like she was in the Voyager episodes. So that makes sense that if everything around here revolves around the Borg, that she's here. So that's really cool. Speaking of the Borg, we do get a close-up shot of Decommissioned Borg here. Now, could this be just some Borg that they found that the Romulans are now, again, experimenting and researching with, that's dead? Or could this even be Hugh? If you remember, Hugh was a Borg that they befriended and disconnected from the collective and actually helped them in several episodes. TNG episode I, Borg, played by Jonathan Del Arco, who incidentally is listed on the cast crew of Star Trek Picard. So he could be making a comeback in some sense here. It would make a lot of sense to bring him back. But I think that attention to continuity here, even as long as it's been, is really just a testimony to how they're approaching the series and how they want to make sure that, us, the fans, are really appreciating this. So this is, of course, for all of us, iconic in the sense that this is the iconic. We need him to say, of course, make it so, but we're good. I'm good with Engage for now. This doesn't even look like it's part of the series. This looks like this was shot, like after the series, was filmed or something, after a scene, in between a scene. This looks like somebody's just said, hey, start off the series by saying Engage, just to bless the series. That's what it seems like. It doesn't seem like he's actually in character here, but because he's got that twinkle in his eye and a smile. But because typically when Jean-Luc Picard has said Engage in the past, it's been a very serious gravitas. So this doesn't seem like he's in character. He could be, but either way, we've waited so long to see this. That it's really great to see him and do this. This is cool. I'm geeking out a little bit from cinematography. This is actually reminiscent of a lot of scenes in Star Trek and also scenes in X-Men where Patrick Stewart plays Professor Xavier. I distinctly remember a scene just like this where Professor Xavier is playing chess in in X-Men, where he's playing chess with his longtime buddy Sir Ian McKellen, who plays Magneto, and they do like this close-up shot of him holding a chess piece. And so in this case, it's poker, obviously, because Jean-Luc Picard now plays poker as he's joined the crew session of poker in the final series episode of Next Generation. Finally joins the poker game, and of course he's got his iconic Earl Grey hot right there next to his hand. So again, here we go back to the whole reiteration of him feeling regret, and when he says the game, obviously he's talking about his adventures as Captain Jean-Luc Picard. He wants to be part of it. He doesn't want it to end. He wants to go into this and do more, and that makes sense with also the tagline that they're using in the series. The end is just the beginning. So the end of the Next Generation is just the beginning of another thing, another aspect or part of his life, and that's kind of the theme that's going to be interwoven throughout this entire Star Trek Picard series. And here again, he's confiding into Fine as an old friend. Awesome. So obviously, Brent Spiner reprising his role as Data is a dream come true. He's my second favorite character behind Captain Jean-Luc Picard. I love Data, and here, obviously, he's been put back together from the parts you saw in the earlier shots. I mean, this could be before becoming Data with his memory engrams successfully overwritten, and so now Data's got the same body of B4. The android B4, and so that could be him here. His cheeks are a little bit puffy with the prosthetic and the makeup. I think it looks a little bit swollen there on the side of the cheeks, but all in all, very reminiscent of the old Data that we know and love. Appears that I don't know if he's using the body of B4, does he still have the emotion chip? Because here it seems like he doesn't have the emotion chip on, or he doesn't have it at all. His eyes are a little bit more yellow than golden that I remember, but obviously everything else is spot on. You can see the color, command color of his collar is that mustard, or that yellow mustard, which is indicative of Lieutenant Commander. So maybe he's kept the same rank from when before. Don't know. Doesn't have any of the gray in his hair anymore. Obviously, if this is B4 body, then it will make sense that all those changes that Data made later on would then, of course, revert. But it's just really, really cool to see him reprising the role. And, of course, he's got everything spot on. The inflection, the voice, the little twerk of the mouth, the little head tilt. He's got it all exactly how I remember Data, which is really cool considering how long it's been. So it would be interesting to understand how easy was it for Brent Spiner to jump into that role, to get all the prosthetics back on, how easy was it for him to get all the tics of the character, and did he have to go back and look at old tape, or, was he able just to get it right away? I'd be interested to know. But either way, I definitely am so excited to see him here as well as Riker. who's going to be reprising his role as well. So I'm really excited to see some of the old cast of the Next Generation pop up here and there. And hopefully, you know, I would love Data to be a really integral part of the series. I don't know, you know, per contract or whatever, but I would love to see him show up more than just a camo here. So a lot of really cool things here for the series. I'm super excited to see this. It's going to be on CBS All Access, so you'll have to get it there. But that's coming in early 2020, so I'm super excited, and I hope you guys are too. With that, I'm going to end the program, and I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, live long and prosper.